Hello, all you positive heads out there. It's so good to be back with all you beautiful reflections of the one source consciousness that creates and animates all things. If you're new to this podcast, of course, we are super happy to have you here, and we just ask that you bring an open mind and heart to your listening experience and to be prepared to explore vantage points that I'm convinced will help shift or solidify your current understanding of the ultimate nature of reality in a way that is extremely empowering. Speaking of exploring powerful perspectives, I'm super excited to announce the release of my very first book, The Golden Key: Modern Alchemy to Unlock Infinite Abundance. If you're ready to alchemize the circumstances in your life so that your abundance expands to an entirely new level in 2021, head over to goldenkey.gift to download the audio or ebook as my gift to you by using the code POSITIVEHEAD. All right, all you positive heads, welcome. Here we go again. I am excited to say we're mixing it up a little bit with today's typical soul share. Decided to flip myself on the other side of the microphone, as I've done a few times. I think I did it a couple months ago, last time. At that time, I mentioned to you guys that I'm going to be going on a lot of other podcasts and promotion of the Golden Key. And it's just something a little different. You get to questions from the other side of the microphone. And this is with Tricia Carr, who from the Charm Life podcast, who was on this show a while back. She's super, super awesome. Pet intuitive, if you recall, this is her show. And so I just decided to share this interview with you guys. Hope you all enjoy it. You're actually hearing it before it comes out on her show, but definitely recommend checking out all of her stuff. She's just super awesome, super cool. And hope you guys enjoy hearing me on the other side of the microphone for a little change up this week. See you next time.
Welcome back onto my show, Brandon Beecham. I'm so excited to connect with you again. You're always just so full of love and joy and, of course, abundance. And that's what we are here to talk about on this episode. Welcome and thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. It feels really great to be here. And I feel the same way about you. It's so good every time we connect. And here we grow again.
I love that. And you're still moving along with the Positive Heads podcast, daily episodes, right?
5 days a week. For just
That's
crossed
amazing.
1,400 episodes. And wow. I now in the last, it's 5.5, we're coming up on 6 years actually, that the show, since it was its inception. And about a year and a half ago, I reached out to my dear friend, Dr. Erica Middlemiss, to say, hey, 5 days a week is a lot. I was doing my new late night style show, Optimistic, at the time, starting it. And I was like, I need some backup. And they're probably getting a female voice and perspective a couple days a week wouldn't hurt anyone's feelings. Would you start doing Tuesday and Thursday? So now I do it 3 days a week, and she does it too for the last year and a half. And that's been great. And at first I was a little nervous about it. It's like, giving up the reins to someone, and she's just done a fantabulous job. And people love her.
It's so wonderful what you have, as a service through Positive Heads with yourself and all of the different hosts and co-hosts that you have on, and of course, all your soul shares. And what a body of work, 1,400 episodes. That's abundance right there.
It's some would call it crazy and some would call it abundance. It's all your perspective, like everything. It has been such a labor of love, and I've just enjoyed every step of the way. And in the encouragement, as you probably know, getting the feedback and encouragement where it's like, oh, this made a huge difference in my life. This completely changed my life. It fuels me. I can get one piece of positive feedback. I'm like, oh, you just fueled me for another 100 episodes. Great. So it's awesome to be, helping people, including myself. I started it for that reason. Like, oh, I need to, maintain an elevated vibration. What's the best way to do that? Well, talking about this stuff. It's like we teach best what we most need to learn. And it's medicine for me first and foremost. And the fact that it's, then, billowed out and started impacting so many people just makes it that much sweeter.
Yes, it's therapeutic. And that's something that, with the people that I work with one-on-one or my students, that's one of the key tools I talk about. Always have yourself in contact with a teacher. And a teacher isn't necessarily, I don't think a teacher is an elevated position at all. I think the teacher is the ultimate student and the ultimate servant even. But, the teacher, have yourself immersed in teaching as much as possible. And that could be by a podcast or books or YouTube videos, people talking about the positive and the topics of love and the topics of the law of one. And so you've just provided that in such a beautiful way. And I love that you've gotten more dynamic. It really is. It's a great service. And it's so, like you said, it's important for you too. Like, we have to be able to express ourselves in order to get this stuff out of our heads.
Yeah, absolutely. It's if you go back and listen to episode 1, if anyone ever listens to episode 1 of the Positive Head podcast, that's like the first thing I say is like, look, my poor friends and family, ears are bleeding. I needed another outlet to get this stuff out. So that, because it is my dharmic path and something that I'm meant to do. So I'm sure you can relate. It's like, it's just bubbling up so much. I want to talk about it to anyone who wants to listen or not listen. And so maybe it's better to have an outlet where people who are attracted to it will find it. And, if you're not, you can move along to the infinite other things that are vying for your attention, and that's a vibrational match. So that's what's really cool about podcasting. You're that which is like unto itself is drawn, and so you get to see, these are really close vibrational matches that are showing up and appreciating what I'm doing, and so yeah, I'm sure that's the same for you.
Absolutely, it's such a beacon in the times we've been having. I mean, 6 years ago, I'm sure we thought that we really needed some more positivity in the world. The last couple of years, woo!
Yeah, it hasn't really let up, has it? And it's and that's a cool thing with the whole. I've seen it over the years too, where telling people to be positive is a bad thing. Like, no one's going to be positive all the time. And, just focusing on love and light is foolishness. And it's never been my intention to say, hey, don't deny the darkness or negativity. It's actually a tool for, to me, it's all happening for love in the end. It's all happening for love, but you've never seen a great work of art without shadow in it, right? So it's all a part of what you need to experience the contrast of life. And sometimes that means feeling things that don't feel great or aren't, really positive. Where you can, I feel like you can always bring a positive perspective to negativity or something quote unquote bad happening, It's actually, it's all about how you frame. You may not be happy with everything. You're not going to be happy with everything that unfolds in your life, but you can learn to be at peace with it, knowing that it's happening for you, not to you. It's, approaching it in this way. Okay, this isn't what I would have consciously chosen, and this hurts, this stings, this isn't quote unquote positive from one perspective, and I trust. That's one of the keys in my new book, Trust the Mystery. I trust the process that's unfolding. A master is someone who is embracing whatever shows up because they know it's exactly what they need to become the next greatest and greatest version of yourself. So if you start thinking of your soul on this journey to become, a skilled sailor in the physical dimension and throughout eternity, it's like, well, smooth seas never made for a skilled sailor. So you need that, that bitterness and harshness and, challenges sometimes that aren't viewed as positive, but when you put the right perspective on it, you can at least find peace with it and trust the process. And that's sort of like a way to always have a base level positive perspective, even when you're feeling, doesn't mean don't feel your feelings. Like, hey, if a lot of times that's the problem actually is we're pushing aside these feelings, you know what I mean? And burying them and saying, oh, I shouldn't be feeling this. This is bad. I'm supposed to be positive. It's like, no, you're going to feel you came here to for the contrast and the variation, But when you can bring this overarching, perspective to it, it really helps to soften the blow of those really challenging moments, I believe.
Yes, it opens you up to the growth. And one of my favorite Marianne Williamson moments, quotes, she said that our mental and emotional pain is the gravity against which we push to make ourselves stronger. In the way that a yogi holds herself in a posture in order to make the muscle stronger, or a weightlifter picks up and puts down the weights and uses gravity and pushes against gravity, that's what our mental and emotional experiences are, the ones that are painful or negative. But even the positive ones, right? Positive ones can be intense. Anything that's intense, it's that gravity.
Yeah,
so
I like that.
I think that is really, as we move through these different cycles, as we do as humans together, we are cyclical beings. And I think you're bringing that up is pertinent, bringing up the criticism of metaphysical or spiritual mindset, that it is spiritual bypassing or something along those lines. And of course, anything can be used to bypass a reality, but that's not what is the suggestion to being in a positive vibration. And it doesn't mean that you never experience the negative. The way out is through, of course.
That's right.
But the positive pivot can give you the strength and give you the opening to the opportunity for the growth that is being offered.
And absolutely agree with all of that. And as you begin to train yourself to look for that silver lining and to say, this lump of coal, okay, I just got served up a big heaping lump of coal, and I'm experienced enough and wise enough to know that there is a diamond on the other side of it somewhere, right? My triggers are my treasures. There's something, I may not be seeing it yet. And I may, like the caterpillar, have to go through the process of melting into a goo before it turns into the butterfly-ness that it's destined to become, this experience. But I know that's the process that I'm in, no matter what's coming my way. And that really helps me helps us to navigate gracefully through. Charles Bukowski said, and I'm paraphrasing, it might not be an exact quote, but basically all that matters is how gracefully we walk through the fire. And yeah, when you can sort of like get into that mind, it just makes it, a smoother journey, taking this perspective on.
Wonderful. And I want to talk about your book, because the book and the manifestation game you have with it, it's such a beautiful project. And I know that part of the first key is the butterfly effect. So I think it's a good segue to talk about your brand new book, The Golden Key, Modern Alchemy to Unlock Infinite Abundance. Brandon, congratulations. And thank you as well.
Thank you. I always knew I would write a book. I actually started writing a book before I launched my podcast almost 6 years ago. And then it didn't quite feel like the right time or the exact right content. After a while of being with it and working with it, actually with a friend, I just said, you know what, I'm going to put that aside for now. And this feels most alive for me, is to work on this podcast thing. And I'll revisit this book or another one that may even be more suited to be my first, author, my debut as an author into the world. And that was actually the first thing I ever wanted to be as a child. When you asked me, 6 years old, 7 years old, I want to be a writer. And so it was always there from the beginning. I knew it would happen. And, but I also didn't want to force it. Right. So when is the right time? I don't know. When I feel lit up about it and inspired the most. And so I had sort of a little bit of a false start years back and reassessed, put it aside. What happened was, as often happens in life, we have certain expectations of where we're going, and life's what happens when your plans don't work out. I had spent, from July 2019 up until COVID, my time recording a late night style variety talk show, Optimistic. We recorded 17 episodes. I was just about to start releasing them. Right when the day we released episode 1, self-released that, COVID, we went in lockdown in the Los Angeles area the next day. And it was like the whole world was in this weird state. And then it looked like we were going to be released on Amazon And so I halted releasing to deal with that. And that went on for months and months of being sort of strung along thinking that was going to happen. And then, nope, never mind. This will not be added to Amazon's lineup. And it's like, okay, well, this has been a weird journey to the recording and releasing of Optimistic so far. Throw in a pandemic, throw on this like false, idea that we're going to be on a major network. Okay, why is this happening for me? Not what I would have chosen my own plan, but I trust it. And so the first thing that came to mind is like, oh, okay, well, if I'm going to be back to self-releasing, then the good part about that is I can tie in my own offerings. If you're on Amazon or some major network, you can't promote kind of like in commercial style, anything. There is no commercials. You can't say, go get my book or any of that. And so I thought, okay, well, I can't really promote retreats, which is part of what I was doing up until COVID. What would I do? And then I had a dream about a book, and not only the content of the book, helping people to basically see what over 25 years of deep exploration I've come to as a distilled version of how to manifest abundance in my life. If you take the podcast, it's the other side of the coin. Here's 1,400 episodes of me just freestyling all these ideas on the whole other end of the spectrum, a distilled 100 pages of 25 years of exploration on this topic. And so the idea came to me, and it also how to distribute it in a unique way. In a way that, for better or for worse, I'm always someone who likes to go to the beat of my own drum. When I started my podcast, people were like, oh, what's your favorite podcast? I'm like, I don't know. I've never listened to one. I just want to, nor do I want to. I just want to do it my own way. And so, I had this idea of how I would market the book and put it out there and help to spread the keys to abundance, if you will. And then, a lot of synchronicity ensued that I actually share some of in the book. I went to the name for the book, for example, The Golden Key, came to me as I awoke from my dream. Okay, that would be a perfect name. I searched. Someone had used that name in 1931, this guy, Emmett Fox. And he's sort of I wasn't even familiar with him at the time, but like sort of one of the fathers of bridging new thought, these, a lot of the concepts we talk about and I'm sure you and I talk about on Positive Head, and these ideas about the ultimate nature of reality, the oneness of all things. He is really bridging that with Christianity, 100 years ago almost. And I pull up his famous essay called The Golden Key. And it's like, I dare you to try this and see for yourself. And it's like the same idea that I just dreamed about in a way. And then, so I proceeded to just start. That was August of 2020. And I just started, going at it every day. I'd get up and work on the book. And okay, as I release optimistic episodes, I now can say, hey, go get my book, and, have something else to promote that helps with the monetization aspect of producing a show. Is very expensive, when you get into video production outside of just audio. And so that was sort of the vision and like I said, there's just so much cool synchronicity along the way. And, here we are. I just released it a few weeks ago. And what I decided to do and what came to me initially in that dream is, Maharishi, the father of transcendental meditation, said, if we can just get 1% of the planet to adopt mindfulness, it will shift the collective. Malcolm Gladwell's book, well-known book, The Tipping Point, says if 10% of a collective of the population takes on any belief, it's over. It spreads like wildfire. That's the tipping point. So for me, what I thought of is if we can get 1% to adopt some of these perspectives, then really it's going to spread. It's going to continue to go. And that was, for me, I felt like the quickest way I could contribute to helping our planet to transcend or to transition from its butterfly, teenager with the sports car, and so they can make it safely into the parking garage, into adulthood. How do we transition from the caterpillar into the butterfly? I think spreading this wisdom and similar concepts to what's in the Golden Key is the fastest way. So to do that in the best way I can think of to contribute. So I wanted to actually empower people who are motivated and moved by the book to be able to gift it to others. And so that's the way I set it up. I'm gifting it, and you basically can go and, I'm sure you'll share your code at the end of, or at some point in this podcast. But if you go to the website, you can actually get the audio or ebook as a gift, as long as you have a golden key code with someone who wanted to share it with you. That became sort of a supporter. And then on the other side of that is, so that the book itself is gifted, but then there's an abundance manifestation game at the end of it where it's like, okay, now let's apply, because talk is one thing. Let's apply some of these concepts I've just shared in the book, and let's see if we can drum up more abundance in your own life. And by the way, I'm not just talking about wealth when we talk about abundance. Mm-hmm. Health is, time being the most, the most aspect of abundance that there is, and the ultimate signifier. So all the different ways, relationships, health, wealth, wisdom, it's all different forms of abundance. So this book is really about that. How do you unlock all the forms of abundance? Let's, at the end of it together, if you've been inspired by what you've read, let's play an abundance manifestation game, and let's see for yourself how you can tap into this vibration to drum up more abundance. And then anyone who, part of that entails paying for the book after you read it, putting money in as a seed to sprout into great, you get what you give kind of thing. And then I'm just sharing that with all the people who are participating. It's like half of the abundance that flows through the game, and any other, we have a golden key necklace, which there's a great story how that was manifested, that synchronicity story. If someone wants to get one of those, it's just sharing it all with the people. For me, it was an opportunity to walk the talk, and practice what I preach and just share and give back. So starting with gifting the book, and then any of the financial resources that flow through it all, sharing that with everyone as well.
That is just gorgeous. And thank you. Thank you for that work that you're doing. Consciousness is basically a consciousness project. It is a consciousness project. And I asked a while ago, I asked Spirit, why do consciousness projects work? And why does something like group prayer or something like that? But basically consciousness projects where two or more are gathered. And what they shared with me was, it's like, I'm love, you're love. We come together and we bond on love, but that bond between us, it magnifies more than just twofold. It magnifies exponentially from the two. Yes. So each pair, every person who connects to it is receiving and expanding with this exponential vibration of all of the collective. And that's just so beautiful, Brandon.
Thank you. And you made me think of, with saying that, is, I often say love is the only thing that you can divide, and it grows. Right. So, how do we, and that's what I talk about in the book, is like, look, it doesn't, and I give examples of, if you decide to play this game, it's an invitation. You don't have to do it at all. You can just take the information, and it's free for you, and great. And I'm happy about that too. But if you decide to choose to flow financial resources into this abundance manifestation game, it doesn't cost you anything. It actually creates more for everyone. And this is how I think we move into a state of abundance. When you're really aligned with something that, like, there'll be someone out there who for sure reads the book and it's like, it doesn't resonate. I'm not really aligned. I'm not really feeling this. You're the wrong person to participate then, because I only would want someone to participate if it feels like fully in alignment and you believe the intention is super pure and positive, and then you go and, participate in a financial way of your choosing. That is a recipe to create more. If you're doing it because some other reason, it's kind of like someone dealing with homelessness. You see someone experiencing homelessness. If you're doing it because out of obligation, you feel you have to, and you're guilty or whatever, that's probably energetically not the best state. If it's an abundant energy when I want to, and I'm not concerned about the outcome, it's about the act of being generous, then no matter what they do with it, I believe, good is, you've created something good vibrationally rippling into your own world.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And there's that energy cannot be tarnished or tainted or destroyed, but
Right.
it can expand, like you said. Just like
Yep.
love is just that. Anything that's love based, it's only going to expand. It's only going to grow.
Yep. Yep. I say in the book, if you want, especially in the new world that we're moving into, you referenced it at the very front of the book. I talk about how we're going from the caterpillar phase of humanity into the butterfly phase, and the sort of the difference in the old world that we've emerging from, and in the new world that we're entering into, where the game is a little different, the rules are a little different, things are shifting, and I believe in the new world that's emerging, where the art of manifestation is the next great art form. It is more than ever. If you want to know what your outcome is going to be with anything you're engaging in, just look at the core intention. It's going to be reflected back. It's going to be that root intention is going to be reflected in the results. And whereas in the old world, when we were still in a caterpillar phase of humanity, where we're meant to experience separation from source more fully, we're still playing that cycle out. You could do things that were much more separation based. Me against the world. I'm going to hoard all this money and all these things, and screw you and who I step on. That actually worked. From one perspective, it worked anyway. Whereas I think that's going to become more challenging in the new world that's emerging. It's that core intention is going to be just reflected back so quickly. It's going to just, what you're putting out is coming back so fast. There's no delay in the reverb, the repercussion. Whereas in the past, there's, I did something and it appears like I got away with it. Meanwhile, 3 lifetimes later, it's like biting you in the ass, right? So it's, I think that the gap is getting shorter and shorter and shorter. So that intention becomes more and more obvious, being reflected back.
Right. There are ages much older than the most previous ones, like what you're referencing. But if we just look at sort of the most recent ones, we had the industrial age where machines made things move faster than just doing everything manually. And then information age, which I guess we're still in, but that information age, it sped up so much that we really are in the intuitive age now. And so how much faster? So intuition, the intuition age, that's instantaneous. That's the field of all things. And I think that's why they haven't really been able to weaponize psychic energy, like, you know what I mean? Like psychic abilities, which, governments are trying to do that.
Sure.
But they haven't really been, because there's a stopgap in there, even though you can use psychic energy negatively. But when you're working in that field, that fabric of one, then even the bad intentions, it's immediate, like you're saying.
Yeah,
so it kind of just stops itself. And even a person who isn't benevolent, they have to become somewhat benevolent because they're working in the energy that includes them as much as anybody else. And so I think it collapses is what it does.
Yeah,
and that's where we are.
It's a snake eating its own tail, right? There's a great movie by Richard Linklater, such an awesome director. He did a movie called Waking Life. Have you ever heard of this?
No, I don't think
I highly recommend it. It's like it's very kind of trippy the way he did. It's like real filming, but then he drew over the people. And this is like in the 90s or maybe early 2000. And it's all about astral projection. And this guy having an astral projection experience, and all the characters he meets along the way, and all this philosophical stuff that's being shared with him. And I always remember one scene where the guy talks about the quickening that's happening. How we went from, we think modern man, science thinks modern man has been around 200,000-300,000 years. Well, you could look at that. And of course, there's people who say, well, millions of years and way beyond that. And who knows for sure. But even if you just went back 300,000 years, you go from 300,000 years ago to 100,000 years ago. That's a big time period, 200,000 years. They're still using the same tools, there's very little development from what we know of scientifically speaking. Well, then you finally get to recorded history 10,000 years ago, right? That's like a jump. But then it's a shorter jump from recorded history to the Dark Ages, for example, Middle Ages. Oh, that from 10,000 years to 9,000 years, it's like it's a 9,000 year gap. That happened about 1000 AD or whatever. But then you go from there to 1000 AD to the Industrial Revolution. Well, that's even a shorter jump. This exponential growth. Now you're in the 1700s, whatever. Then you go from there to the computer age, and then he basically goes. This guy in the film starts talking. He is we're going to evolve this quickening. It's an exponential growth. It takes forever for 1 to go to 2, but then 2 goes to 4, then 4 to 8. Next thing you know, you're in these huge numbers so quickly, and it's like what would have been a billion-year evolution cycle in some other instance is happening in an afternoon, in the world that we're emerging into. And when you start thinking of our evolution happening in that context, it's pretty incredible. And it's like, wow, the train is picking up pace very, very rapidly right now.
Yes. And, biologically, our bodies evolve much slower than our mental and emotional bodies. And so, technologically and socially and all of these other ways, we are in a totally different world. The bodily evolution is much slower. So it feels like what has to happen, obviously we have technology that supports that, medicine and different things, and just education that helps us to support our bodies. But in order for our bodies to make that leap, we have to start applying the magic to ourselves physically. And I think that's what your book is helping us with, by being able to apply abundance and manifestation full circle, all the way, not just how I'm feeling, which is great, but that's only the plane of cause, really. How do we bring it all the way to the effect plane? And that's what must happen in order for us to continue to evolve. And evolution either has to continue or we have to go away. There's not really a third choice there. We have to implode. But I don't think we're going to implode.
I don't either. I think, in wherever we go, I mean, a billion Earth years from now, you and I will be in another now experiencing some other moment. It may look very abstract compared to what we're doing in this moment, but it's when you start to play with this idea and settle into like, I'm an eternal being that's always been and always will be. I'm one with the Creator. I am, the Creator and created rolled into one in a sense. And it becomes of vital importance that, okay, well, what am I creating? What am I creating with my perspective, with my beliefs? What story am I telling? And I often say, the only thing I'm really good at is making up good stories that serve me. I decided to tell the story decades ago. I don't believe in getting sick. Now, I can't say I've never been sick, but compared to the average person, it's been like little to none. And so and then now there's all the science that supports this. The Biology of Belief by Dr. Bruce Lipton is a great example, or the, placebo effect, 30%, or more actually, this is by some people's accounts, but 30% safe to say of all healings are placebo, including surgery. So if I tell you that I operated on you while you were under and did this crazy surgery and you believe it, it creates the effect as if it were there. It was, and this is how powerful we're creator beings. And so learning to make up good stories. I heard something the other day that I'd never heard this quote, and it was actually in a song, and I don't even know what its origins are, but it's so powerful. It's like, there's only one truth, your truth. And I love that. It's like, Henry Ford said it another way, whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. And so you're creating a story, a truth about what's going on. And because you're so powerful, abracadabra means I create as I speak. Your words are your wands. You're spelling, casting a spell with these stories that you're weaving. And so it becomes really imperative to tell a good story. And that's really what the golden key is all about, is, hey, here's the keys I found to the narrative that I'm weaving in regards to the nature of the situation in which I find myself as a being. And in most importantly, are, talk is cheap. What kind of results have they gotten? For me, a lot of people think of abundance and think in monetary terms. It led me from my friend's couch to having an Inc. 500 fastest growing private company within a few years, 100 plus employees. I started out with like $20 in my pocket. We're doing 10 million a year in revenue. what only 1 in 10,000 entrepreneurs ever sets out and achieves that level of success. Is it because I'm smarter or better? No. I just believed so wholeheartedly that I'm one with all the abundance that I see that I can start calling in more of it because I'm over the contrast of on the friend's couch. And it worked. So it's like, okay, what do the results say? And I think that's really, if you want to get really good results in a relationship, talk to someone. Probably not best to talk to someone who you look at their relationships and they're like everything you don't want in life, right? Yeah. And so, that really encourages me on to continue to share my own, perspective. And that's what's beautiful about this. We all have our own lens and perspective on this stuff. And I could share it one way and you could share it another, and it just lands slightly different coming from you if the person is a closer vibrational match to where you're at. And, it's like, we're all like this tree you see behind me. I think of Source as this infinite tree stretching infinitely in all directions. The roots infinitely in one, the branches infinitely in another. And as vast as that is to even conceptualize, and yet this infinite tree, there happens to be a branch with leaves right next to each other, blowing in the winds of eternity, that you could argue those two leaves are more closely related to each other than the leaves, way on the other side. Just like you could argue my fingers are more closely related than they are to my toes, and yet it's still part of the same whole. So it really becomes about finding and connecting. We're those that we're, most closely connected with, we're going to resonate with most, and therefore, become each other's medicine more effectively.
Become each other's medicine. Let's all just on that one.
Indeed. We are each other's medicine.
Yes, we are. And we're mirrors of each other, and which is medicine, because we see out pictured what the vibration is that we're holding. And so when we can, you and I were talking about reframe even before we started, we can reframe any of the outside reality, that contrast, whether it's in a person or it's in an event, and allow it to be a mirror to show us how we can grow and improve. Then we have everything. Then we are ultimate abundance. Yeah.
Indeed. Before we continue on with today's episode, I'd like to take a moment to tell you a little bit about my very first book, The Golden Key: Modern Alchemy to Unlock Infinite Abundance. The concept for the book initially came to me in a dream and has been followed by a next level amount of synchronicity, confirming for me that the information in the book is pertinent to get to the world at this moment in our collective evolution. In the book, I share the 8 keys to manifesting abundance that I've personally discovered over 25 years of trial, error, and deep exploration, including one golden key that ultimately ties them all together. I think most of you will agree with me that talk is a bit cheap, especially these days, and results speak the loudest of all. Well, these keys have led me to manifesting incredible results, such as an Inc. fastest growing private company, uncanny health, incredible relationships, and success with this podcast. However, I'm not any more special than you, and anyone can apply this information to achieve incredible results in their own life. I also believe waking up our planet by sharing these keys to abundance is the quickest way to help us to transition our home into the planet of paradise it is destined to become, which is why I'd like to gift the book to you at goldenkey.gift when you use the golden key code POSITIVEHEAD. I would also like to invite you to create your own unique golden key code so you in turn can gift the book to others, as well as invite you to participate in a unique abundance manifestation game with me and the other readers that is outlined in detail at the end of the book and on the website, where readers are also going to share the inspiring results of their abundance manifestation experiments. Lastly, I'm going to practice what I preach by sharing 50% of the abundance generated from the golden game and sale of the other golden goodies on the website with you and all the other readers. So if you're ready to alchemize the circumstances in your life so that your abundance expands to an entirely new level, head over to goldenkey.gift to download the audio or ebook as my gift to you by using the code POSITIVEHEAD. Also, if you end up loving and appreciating your gifted copy of the book, please take a moment to go to Amazon and give it a review, which will greatly help me reach and unlock more hearts with the Golden Key.
So what is going on with Optimistic then? So it's not on Amazon. Are you going to be releasing them? Tell us about it. Tell us all about it, as if they didn't know.
Yep. So I really, when COVID hit, and then it was like, okay, we thought it was going to be on Amazon for a long time. That didn't pan out. Then I was sort of shown, and here's what you're supposed to do next, this book. In dramatic fashion, I halted everything to do with that, and just let me churn out a book. And I spent 6 months doing that. And so now that the book is out there living and breathing in the world, I'm, and doing things to kind of get it out there. I'm now starting to think, and as the COVID thing starts to cool down a little bit, okay, I can start doing live tapings with a 30-person audience in a very intimate setting like I was doing. And so my aim is to get back to one, releasing the episodes that I've recorded that I still haven't released, and then getting back to filming additional ones as well, and then possibly looking for alignment with some networks or not. I'm so open and unattached. Doing it because I love it, and where it goes will be exactly what it should be. So, I would say, in the coming. I'd like to say within 6 months I could start recording again, and before then start releasing episodes that I already have that, I've just been kind of put aside while all this wild twist has gone on in my trajectory.
And what's so wonderful, well, let's say you did mention it's a late night style talk show about all, spirituality. You are the host. You have on a guest. You also have on artists who are doing live art, and then you have musical guests. I mean, it's really cool, and it's all, in the vein of positivity, spirituality. And I know people who are listening to this saying, "Yes, I need that. I'm sick of, trying to fall asleep to some late night show, and it's all about politics."
Yep, I know. It's like, oh no.
And what's great,
no.
Yeah, and what's great about your
my production company is called Television Studios, and that is exactly what if you're tuning into politics, it's like you're being told, it's literally giving you the vision of reality, and it's like I don't want to personally buy into it. I'm not saying there's no value there at all, but it's such a I want to. It's propaganda, and it's
a little goes a long way. There's information, of course, and there's a way to be responsible, of course, but there's a very little. It goes a long way. There's a very little information that's helpful in what's going on in a lot of that that kind of media. I in my opinion, and I don't think that. Yeah, I don't think that commercial media or commercially presented media is ever pure and journalistic.
Yeah, and maybe in the past more so, but certainly these days it's like it's propaganda. Networks vying to sell you on what they want you to think and believe.
Create fear so that you'll be in a fight, flight, somnambulistic state, so that you'll buy things.
Yep, there you go.
And they don't have time to
support
the
structure of our society, which is inevitably shifting. And, I think we've seen a lot of the pangs of that now. And, for people who really, I know there's a lot of people out there who are really scared by, the upheaval of, oh my gosh, I can't trust my government. I grew up thinking they were like so good and supporting me. And now that trust is gone, and look around and, pandemics and, riots and all these things. And, that's why I offer at the beginning of the Golden Key, the journey of the butterfly. I talk about the journey of the butterfly. It starts out as this caterpillar. That it's funny because right when I was writing, I was talking to my mother about it. And of course she was like, oh, I know what you're talking about. These caterpillars just destroyed my geraniums that I've had for years the other day. And that's what caterpillars do. They go around and they're sort of mindless, and they destroy what's in their path, plants and flowers. And, it's just consume. Sound familiar, right? And then at some point, these cells within the caterpillar start popping up, these imaginal cells. And the caterpillar cells are like, whoa, hold on. What is this imaginal cell? This is an invader. Kill it. And that's what the caterpillar cells do. Oh, get rid of it. That's an invader. Next thing you know, another imaginal cell. And over time, more and more start popping up, and finally they start working together. And that's, once again, I think a great metaphor for what's happening with our planet. In the past, you spoke up about, you take Jesus Christ as a great example. He wasn't teaching anyone to worship him or anything. In my opinion, he was spreading love. He was teaching this same, I and the Father are one. You'll do greater things than I. He's saying, I'm God, but yes, so are you. And, with the faith of a mustard seed, you can move a mountain. He's talking about all the same things. But at that time, he was an imaginal cell popping up where it's like the caterpillar was fully in control, and it's like, stamp that one out, And so that happened a lot. And so it also makes me think of Joe Dispenza. I love Joe Dispenza. And one of his books, he talks about a vivid past life memory where he was like persecuted for what he was teaching. And so that thing, we know that went on so many levels, famous people and those that we've never even heard of, but now we're at the point where so many imaginal cells are popping up together to work together. And the tide is shifting. Well, what happens in the caterpillar at that phase is the caterpillar begins to tremble and break down. It goes into, this is when it goes into its chrysalis, where the caterpillar cells actually melt down into a goo. Now, this is a very messy process. I mean, just when the caterpillar thinks its world is over, though, it becomes a butterfly. And so all of the pain that was precipitated by the caterpillar, actually, the caterpillar cells become a goo that the imaginal cells feed on. They actually feed on all the pain and destruction that caterpillar precipitated, which is what empowers it and fuels it to be birthed out of the chrysalis into the butterfly that it's destined to become. So I encourage anyone who's really scared about what's happening and tapping into that fear vibration. Look, we're in the throes of a transition from a caterpillar society to a butterfly society. Of course, things are going to break down, but have no fear. Trust the process, and just continue to be the imaginal cell you are destined to become. Hold the vibration of let there be light. Let there be light. I continue to focus on what I want to see more of, not that which I don't. I give no energy to that which I don't. I give all my energy to where I want us to go. It's like the number one thing, I talk about this in the book, Mario Andretti, arguably the best race car driver of all time. He won across all these different, from NASCAR to Formula One they asked him, what's the number one thing you tell a aspiring race car driver? And he said, the number one thing I tell them is whatever you do, don't look at the wall. You know why he tells them not to look at the wall?
Where your attention goes, energy flows.
Where attention goes, energy flows.
Yeah.
So as you're going around, stop looking at the wall and look in the direction that you want to see more of. And so this is really the dance. This is where we're at in our evolution. And there's a reason more people are on this planet than there's ever been that we know of anyway. It's because we're here for the big show. This is a big, big transition, and you're right in the throes of it. And if you're tuning into this vibration of this podcast in this moment, you are such a close vibrational reflection to those of us, the two of us hosting it, that, out of infinite things vying for your attention, here you are. Congratulations, because this is the cutting edge perspectives from what all I see and believe of how we make the smoothest transition. And you are the tip of the spear of consciousness. And that's something to be really proud of, I believe.
Oh, yes, it is. Amen. Thank you for that, Brandon. So it gets better. I mean, and you are an infinite being, so you will witness all of it. That's the thing too. I think that the physical life makes us feel like, well, great, I'll end with the goo. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to get to experience the butterfly part, but we do. Absolutely. And not only do we in the infinite perspective, but I really feel it in our incarnational paths. If we're in our, relative age, if you're 99, I don't know if you, but that's okay too, maybe. So, you know what I mean? Like we're all going to experience the butterfly life together. And so it does get better. And it is better even now.
Yeah, I agree. It's better than it's ever been. A lot of times that's the thing about television is it's turned into this propaganda machine. And so you can be sold that it is just awful. But if you look at a lot of the statistics and regarding war and all of these things, it's getting better. You have more people who are in their heart than ever. I mean, you go back not even that far ago in our own, in our country where we're at, and it's just mind-boggling to think what was accepted, as the norm, with some of the things that went on and the repression and how women were treated and people of color. And it's just like, oh my gosh, how could that be considered even sane in any way, shape, or form, and most people will agree with that now. Well, look, we've come a long way. So we're on the fast track to, that our butterfly state, I would say.
Absolutely. You are just such a light, and I love the work that you're doing. I appreciate it so much, Brandon. Really, I mean that so sincerely.
Thank you so much. And of course, you probably know what I'm going to say. You appreciate it because it's such a close vibrational match to your own. You are a beautiful reflection, and everyone listening is as well. We're doing it. And we, that's, you use the word beacon at the first of this, and it's like, that's what we are. We're meant to be beacons. I mean, my name means beacon on a hill. Like, we're here to be beacons. We're here to be lights. Yeah. I love when you can find like I talk about that in the book too. One of the keys is BBB, and my initials are BBB. It's like learning to be has been one of the biggest lessons as such a doer. Just take a breath and appreciate where you are now. Because this moment is as divine as any other moment ever has been or will be. And we can get so caught up on getting somewhere that's better than here at the expense of the present, the gift, right? It is a gift. And when we can move more fully into the now and just be with what is, there's so much opens up. And for people who feel cut off or limited in any way, that is the path. The path to where you want to go next is through the portal of the present, and you have everything you need with you now. And it's just a matter of learning how to just turn some knobs and dials to really. You're so close, and so it's exciting time to be alive.
It is. Yes, it is. And I'll just say, whoever is listening, we believe in you. That's why I end this podcast with, I love you, whoever you are. I believe in you. I believe in me. I believe in Brandon, and we're all doing it together.
I have a big sign right outside my front door here that says, I believe in you.
Oh.
And so,
well,
yes.
I'm psychic. I'm sorry. That just happens all the time. I love it.
Thank you so much for having me on. And that's the last thing I would like to just, if I could add a little bit to that, is like, people get so caught up in this comparison game and like, oh, well, I'll never be Tricia or Brandon. And they, this story of why they're not good enough or it's too late. You are floating in eternity. You are an infinite being that is absolutely as divine as any other being ever has been, could be. There's never been a more divine being than you. And with all your warts, bumps, bruises, you're perfectly imperfect. The universe has been around, we think, about 14 billion years, evolving itself. And its fullest and grandest expression of that, all that work, all of that trial, tribulation, heartache, sacrifice of even, going back 400 years, you have like 2,000 grandparents, all the trial and tribulation for you to be here now. You are the pinnacle, the tip of the spear of the evolution of the entire universe. And within you, you're like the acorn, right? The acorn is, within it is an oak tree, something so much more grandiose than that acorn. It just needs the right conditions for it to be born, the right watering, the right soil, the right sun. If it's taken and put on a shelf in a little boy's room because he found it, it's probably not going to, evolve into its fullest potential. That's all you're doing. You are that acorn. You have it the same way I have it, the same way Tricia has it, the same way the most successful person you admire most in the world has it. It's all in all of us, waiting for you to remember and start by owning that. That's how on that friend's couch, when all signs pointed to I'm a 30-something-year-old loser, right? What I could be sold on if I bought that. If someone told me that vision and I was willing to buy it, I would have, in abracadabra, okay, And whether you think you can or think you can, you're right. I didn't buy that. I remembered there's an oak tree inside of me. And okay. And the universe responds to that. So I want to encourage each and every one of you to remember, come back together. We all have it. And it's a beautiful place to be at this juncture in your evolution.
Yes. Amen. Thank you so much, Brandon. Brandon Beacham, everyone. I'm just so honored to talk with you and just so grateful for all the work you're doing. Thank you, Brandon. Thanks for coming on again.
Likewise. Thank you so much for having me, everyone out there. Until next time, journey well. Love you so much. Also, quickly, before we sign off, I wanted to remind you to download the Golden Key, audio or ebook, as my free gift to you at goldenkey.gift using the code POSITIVEHEAD. I also wanted to remind you that I will now be doing a live Q&A every Thursday night at 6 p.m. Pacific time on the new social audio app Clubhouse. I have really been wanting to connect and interact with all of you more for quite some time, and I'm super excited to now have 2 new ways to do it. First, if you're already on Clubhouse, be sure to follow me and click the little bell on my profile and select to always be notified when I go live on the Clubhouse app. And if you'd like to connect on an even more intimate Zoom gathering once a month, now you can do that too by registering at goldenkey.gift.